fight. Our next story is about the latest evolution in music, the ultimate rip-off artists. Talk about a joke. The group that calls itself Sigue Sigue Sputnik is playing one on the music industry and the public, and plans to be laughing all the way to the bank. Sigue Sigue Sputnik is named after a Soviet pickpocket gang. That seems appropriate for a group whose motto is fleece the world. Bass player Tony James says getting away with it is what's exciting. He created this British group out of nothing and sold it to the music industry without a song.
You created a whole image, something that wasn't there to begin with.
Yeah.
It was something that you, even before you had a record, your face and the face of your group
We're
was
all over the front
all
colours
over the
of
place
everything.
before there was even a record.
Yeah, because it's like, looks like a great rock and roll group. Does it matter whether we have records or not? Why can't we be stars without records?
That was exactly what he had in mind when he began auditions for his dream group.
See, I always have this theory that people look like stars. So one day I met this guy called Neil, who someone introduced me, said there's this guy, he can't really play guitar, but looks terrific, great blonde hair. And so gradually I found Neil, then I found Martin, walked in, there was this guy working in a shop who looked terrific. This is the guy.
It didn't really matter, you know, that I could sing or not. I conned my way into the group.
In fact, he came round to my house and sang the worst version of Bebop Blue ever. It was too bad. It was kind of the way he sung it, you know. It was out of tune and out of time, but it had great attitude.
I'm a 21st century woman.
And one day I was sitting in my house, and we saw some kid walking past. He had a great jacket on, right? And I knew this guy had a great jacket, therefore he must have a great attitude. So let's get him. And we went down and said, you want to be in our group? But I can't play drums, doesn't matter, we'll teach you.
It didn't matter that James had already hired a drummer. He couldn't play either.
Much easier to teach someone to play drums than to teach them how to be thin. You know, much easier to teach someone to play guitar. Impossible to teach someone charisma.
James's emphasis on attitude over ability stems from those years he spent performing with long-forgotten bands. That's him on the left, before he learned to play the record business for all it's worth.
Most of the people who work in the music business are idiots, you know, and it's really like, you know, if they run out of the business, they will be thrown out on their arse straight away.
Never tell the record company you're interested in money. Always say what you like doing is making records and you're really interested in, you know, you're interested in producing and stuff. Then what you do, and you send in your key man, because in any negotiation, your key man is your lawyer. You send him in, and he asks for more money and more points that they'd ever believed anyone would seriously have the front to ask for.
How much?
Well, it was a tidy sum, let's put it that way. A very high sum of money.
Dave Ambrose was the executive at EMI Records in London, who negotiated for the rights to Sputnik.
And,
£1 million?
Well, it was under that, but it was pretty high.
More than $500,000?
I'm not going to go into that.
Dave Ambrose said to me, it's the first time he'd nearly hit a lawyer when he asked, because they were so keen to sign us, you know, that it was a big shot for him. Great thing about it is, we got it.
Quicker than you could say hype, rumors of up to £4 million for a group that couldn't play began to circulate through the British press. It was a slow summer in 1985. The story sold papers, and that sold Sputnik.
Tony James has sort of fitted the bill everywhere because he's clever, he's a good interview. Most people aren't good interviews. Most pop stars are pretty thick, very thick, in fact, have nothing to say. Tony James has loads and loads of things to say.
Steve Sutherland is an editor at Melody Maker magazine who has been tracking the Sputnik phenomenon.
He's probably the first pop star of the 80s, perhaps the first pop star ever, who understands that marketing is as much a kind of a part of the artistic sort of process of putting a record out as actual recording a record or anything else.
How far can you go on the hype?
As far as they went, I think they went so far, it was ridiculous. I was very worried. I said, kept on saying to Tony, I said, look, we better get a record out really fast because this is all going to drop off. But Tony actually was much cooler than me, and he just said, look, don't worry, it's going to be okay.
Dave Ambrose said to me, I asked him about you, Tony, he said, well, what he did basically was sell us a myth.
Yeah. And that's what people buy with Sputnik, isn't it? The myth, the fantasy. You know, that's what I buy when I watch TV. That's what I buy when I watch Dallas or Miami Vice. That's why I go to the movies. I want to be taken out of reality. And this group is like the movie fantasy of the ultimate rock and roll group.
Prior to the release of Sputnik's first single, Love Missile, James made a video that carried his theory to an absurd conclusion. The music took a back seat to images stolen from movies like Rambo and Clockwork Orange. Once again, James was selling an attitude, and once again, it worked.
Most pop promos, after you've seen the first 10 or 20 seconds, you kind of know what's going to come. You know they're going to cut back to the guitar player in a solo. You know, you can tell before it even happens. When you go to the movies and you're watching a film, the best bit is when the trailers for the other films come on. Even if they're films you would never in a million years go and see, the trailer makes them look so great.
Terminator. How successful was the record?
I think it was top 3. I think it was a top 3 record, which is good. It was the highest, actually, configuration of any group, I believe, in the UK, just from nowhere. So it was, the hype, the phenomena was exactly on target.
The single was followed by an album and long-playing boardroom meetings to monitor the vital signs of the myth.
How are we doing on pre-sale with that?
Pre-sale so far on the single is 55,000 7-inch and 35,000 12-inch, which is as many as I wanted to go out with at this point.
While the marketing team worked on distribution, James would work on the public.
People imagine the future to only be at night.
Yeah.
And that's the image of this group that we've created, is this nighttime thing. Yeah. And it's really important that we don't do any things like TVs or even in-store appearances, I kind of think, where the group is seen like on the street in photos. Because if you see us in nighttime, you think of it as futuristic and untouchable.
Most people, instead of seeing Sigue Sigue Sputnik as the future of rock and roll, see Sigue Sigue Sputnik as the very death of rock and roll. Because what they've done is they've taken every single pose, every single smallest item that anybody ever used, from Elvis Presley's hip swivel through to sort of, you know, the Beatles' sort of arrogance in Interview, right through to sort of, you know, the Monkees as sort of a part of a sort of manipulative corporation, all the way through to the Sex Pistols sort of, you know, anarchy. Let's party. They've taken every single bit that suited them and they've put together a robot rock and roll, which is then exacting revenge on the industry that bred it. This is rock and roll.
After instant success in Europe, James was confident when Sputnik finally set down in America 18 months ago. He had said all along that he intended to market the group like cornflakes. But with no advance publicity here, Americans didn't buy the packaging. And when they looked inside, they decided the box was empty. Record sales here have been unimpressive, but that hasn't stopped the salesman.
Is the myth so much better than the reality could ever be of this group?
The myth's always better than the reality. You know, you don't want to believe people have to go home and wash their socks and clear up. You want to believe they, you know, spend every night out at a club, you know, having a great time.
How do you spend most of your nights?
Washing socks, you know. No, out at the club, having a great time.
How do you spend most of your nights?
Oh, worrying about the group, actually. Sitting there sweating over a hot pad, thinking up the next idea.
What is the next idea?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Give me a hint.
If I don't tell you, you buy the next idea.
And just in case nobody does, James won't have to worry about being short on cash. That record deal he signed with EMI guarantees him another album. Rumors are the rock group has now adopted a Brazilian beat. Rest assured, Sigue Sigue Sputnik will be back.